Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Phillies United Podcast, hosted now on YouTube. Now, today, before we get into the topics, I want to explain why I'm hosting on YouTube now instead of the SoundCloud service. Now, I'm unaware if you guys know or are aware, but the SoundCloud service limits me to 200 minutes because I'm a free user, and I don't want to have to pay monthly for something as little as this. So, I uploaded a 20-minute podcast, the first podcast. Again, thank you all for listening to that. I've heard great things from you guys, and it's really inspiring to make me continue to do something like this. Now, as for that, I uploaded a 20-minute podcast, so that put my minutes down to 180 now. Of course, this doesn't mean anything for the near future. I could probably make a few more podcasts on there and still be fine. But this Phillies United podcast is something I want to actually try to do long term if I'm able to, because I like having this platform just to talk to all my friends, fans, people who just love the Phillies, about what's going on with the team, my opinion on it, and your opinions as well, which I'll dive into a little bit. So I don't want to have to be limited there, so I'm just going to make the early on switch to YouTube, a service where I'm not really limited to how much minutes I can use. I can upload basically however long I want. It's still not going to be that long, though, ideally, but that solves that. And before, again, I dive into the topics, I have plans for the future of the podcast. I want to try to get some Q&A if people are actually willing to do something, ask questions, and I can give my opinion/answer on it. I'm hoping to actually have a few guests on the podcast, some friends of mine, fans of the account, whoever. I'm looking for people who actually know stuff about the Phillies, actually just who aren't saying stuff that they do know, although they don't really know, that feeling. So yeah, if you're a fan of the Phillies, you know what's going on with the team, you're in with the news and stuff like I am, I'd love to have you on. But we need to talk about it. We need to plan something out beforehand, because I want to try to get these out potentially weekly. We'll see how it goes. It's still very, very early on, so things could change. But again, I plan on having a co-host each episode from now on after this one, potentially, maybe, and having a Q&A, but possibly for you guys to ask questions of your own, and I can give my answers. So, first thing I want to talk about, Roy Halladay. Now, I'm recording this on the 11th. I'm not sure if this is going to be uploaded on the 11th of November. But 4 days ago, Roy Halladay's anniversary of his death happened. He died 1 year ago, November 7th, 2017. Now, this is kind of hard for me to talk about, because he was such an idol. He was such an idol to me. Roy Halladay, I remember some of my earliest Phillies memories, watching him pitch, and I still remember when I was younger, just trying to mimic his wind-up, trying to mimic his pitches, trying to be just like him. I really, really idolized him, and seeing how his career just had to end due to injury, it really broke my heart. But seeing that he was able to spend more time with his family and doing what he loved to do, it's really cool to see. He died doing what he loved. He died in a plane crash. He was flying. Now, I really don't care about the situation. I heard he was showboating, but I don't think that matters. Roy Halladay should not be remembered for the last moments of his life. He should be remembered for the family he raised, for his legacy that he left in the game of baseball. That's what he should be remembered for. And actually, he is eligible to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, the upcoming season. I myself believe, all bias aside, that he is a Hall of Famer. The stats just show it. He's been a consistent pitcher his whole career. He's one of the only pitchers ever to throw 2 no-hitters in the same season, and a no-hitter One of those no-hitters being in October. It's an iconic moment. So it's really just a sad thing. A man like him is taken so early. Left 2 boys. I can't really imagine the pain that they felt and they still feel to this day. But I just wanted to get that said and done. Now on to following up to the first podcast. Now in the first podcast, it was brief. I discussed Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, who I prefer, who I think should come here, why they should come here. And a lot has happened since then. I forget the exact date I recorded. I think it was a week ago or so, but a lot has happened. The free agency has begun since then. And there's been many rumors about connecting Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, multiple free agents to the Philadelphia Phillies. And there have been rumors that both of them may come to the Phillies, which again I still view as highly unlikely, because that'd be adding. They're both going to get at least $30 million average annual value. So that's 60 added on. And you got to have money available for pitchers, position players. Really, right now, my off-season wish list is Bryce or Manny. Preferably Bryce, but if we get Manny, I'd be fine. A starting pitcher and a reliever who we can count on to close. Preferably lefties. We need a lefty starter. We need a lefty reliever. That's what we need. And speaking of free agents, we've been basically voice crack. We've been basically connected to many free agents, not just Bryce Harper, Manny Machado. Free agents such as Craig Kimbrell, AJ Pollock, Zach Britton, just to name a few. Patrick Corbin, of course, but I'm a firm believer he's going to be the Yankees. And Yusei Kikuchi, he's a Japanese guy coming over from across the sea over there. I would love if we got him, because he's that young lefty that we need. And Craig Kimbrell, of course. I really hope we don't get him. He's going to want a lot of money. And I feel like we can be fine if we don't get him, because I still think we need that lefty in the pen that we can rely on. Now, there were stupid rumors. Bryce moving to first base to increase his market. It was just a ploy. It's part of Scott Boras, how do you say his name? Boras. Working the market, working the rumors, just trying to get the talk up. I don't see it happening. I don't think Bryce is going to the Yankees, although Manny, on the other hand, I can see it happening. And since then, we learned that at the trade deadline, the Dodgers and Astros offered some players for Bryce, though the Nationals declined. I would have to guess because they're confident they can retain Bryce, but going on that, they actually offered Bryce Harper on the end of the last day of the season, or last home game. I forget which one it was, but they offered him $300 million for 10 years. That's $30 million average annual value. And of course, he declined. Now people are saying, hey, he doesn't want to be with the Nationals. This is good for the Phillies. Now, in my opinion, this doesn't matter. This doesn't mean anything. Because Bryce Harper, and Boras, the whole MLB has been anticipating his free agency debut. He's going to break the record for average annual value and just all-around money. Now, the record's hold by, Stan 325, and Greinke, surprisingly, is 35 million per year. He's going to break that, in my opinion. If he doesn't, he's going to come really close to. I think this means the Nationals, I view it as two ways this could pan out. Nationals, either they did that, knowing Bryce would decline, of course, just to show their fans, just say, hey, we tried to retain this superstar, but it's time that we move on. It's time we focus on other aspects of our team. Or they could just be or it could just be an attempt just to show Bryce Harper that they're actually going to be serious about pursuing him and offer him the big bucks later on. But that's how I view it. Now, key dates to note. As of this time, the GM meetings have concluded. They concluded a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, just to say. Not much went down there. There was one trade between the Mariners and Rays. I forget which players were in. I'm thinking catcher Mike Zunino. I still have to look at that. But the big one, the winter meetings, December 9th through 13th. Now, many reportedly, well, let's see what my notes say. Yeah, the winter meetings, 9th through 13th. That's 9th. No, it's 7th. 7th through 13th. My bad. I have it written down wrong in my notes, but that's 6 or 7 days of a bunch of GMs in a little hotel with a bunch of agents. So stuff's gonna go down. I almost cursed for a second, but that's one of the big things that are gonna go down. In my opinion, one of the two, Manny or Bryce, are gonna sign there. I really hope they sign there because I don't think I can handle Bryce Harper being a free agent going into January. That'd be crazy, but yeah. Many view Phillies as the front runner for Harper because of a report by Bob Nightingale of the USA Today saying you can bank on the Phillies signing Bryce Harper. Though I think it's too early to tell, but I do feel we're going to have one of the higher chances to land one of the superstars. Now, other teams reportedly in the pursuit of Harper doesn't really say how much they're interested, but we know they're interested for sure. The Giants, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, Nationals, and the Phillies. These are my picks for the final teams who might be in it. Ultimately, I'm still banking, quote to Bob Nightingale, I'm still banking on it coming down between Cardinals, Phillies, Nationals, those three teams. So I would expect Bryce to be in at least one form of red next season. Now, done with all that, let's talk about the main topic. I know it's probably been doled out at this point because everyone's focused on the offseason, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, what are the Phillies going to do, but I still think it's pretty important to talk about the 2018 season and what it meant for this team, and of course, the manager, Gabe Kapler. Now, I view this differently while it was happening because I kind of forgot in the heat of the moment. We were doing really well. I forgot how young this team is, how inexperienced this team is, and that we outperformed expectations. No matter what you say, we outperformed. In my opinion, the entirety of the season was a success. Was a success despite the fall. Now, you can argue that the fall was historic. It was in August and September. It was horrible. And there's not really anything justifying it. But in my opinion, it was due to many reasons. One, the team was tired. Gabe Kapler brought this new energetic way of managing. Swapping all these players out, playing them at their non-normal positions, such as Rhys Hoskins, Scott Kingery. But, yeah, most of these players were tired, worn down. And to top it off, most of these guys playing their first full year. Jorge Alfaro, Rhys Hoskins, Nick Williams, J.P. Crawford, Scott Kingery, Zach Eflin, Nick Pivetta. That's just naming a few right there, folks. That's just naming a few. So they're playing. Most of them playing their first full year now. In the minor leagues, the season ends in late August. Majors, of course, it ends late September unless you make October. That's a different situation. And the moves at the deadline, well, they weren't all productive. I think the one that I liked the most was, of course, Wilson Ramos, the Buffalo, which I do hope we at least attempt to re-sign, but I don't think he's coming back here. Some people are saying it messed up the clubhouse atmosphere, which I completely see. Just bringing all these new guys in with all these young guys, I could see how it could possibly mess with the atmosphere. Not intentionally. I can see how it happened. And of course, Kapler, first year managing, you got to remember, he was brought into this system, into this organization, and he was forced to manage a bunch of these players, inexperienced players, so you don't know what you're going to get. I think Kapler did a very fine job of working with what he had. Of course, I'm not saying he wasn't perfect. He was not perfect. Gabe Kapler was not perfect. He did a lot of stupid things, in my opinion, but I think that just comes with the first year of managing. You got to do stupid things so you can learn from them. Like, for example, the opening day shenanigans throughout the season, taking players out, putting players in when they shouldn't have been put in. But I feel like this is going to, all those mistakes are going to ultimately help Gabe Kapler in his second season as the Philadelphia Phillies manager. And again, speaking on Kapler, he did his best with what players were given. As I said before, despite the late season downfall, the season was a success. We won 14 more games than in 2017. Now, that to me, that's progress. We had an 80-win team with a bunch of inexperienced players who had a downfall at the end. I think that just shows we're in a good position. And we got people in the farm coming through. Sixto, Alec Boehm, Cole Irvin, Adam Hazley, just to name a few. And we have a very very low payroll, which is why we're so heavily favorites to land either Bryce Harper or Manny Machado. An idea was given on what we can expect from the starting pitching, seeing how effective pitchers like Nick Pivetta, Zach Eflin, or not so Vince Velasquez. We kind of know what he is. In my opinion, I think he should be in the bullpen. While I think he will be in the bullpen, but I think he's going to start out as a starting pitcher. And then as the season progresses, hopefully they make the move to the pen, because I really think he could do very well in that long reliever pen role. Again, you got to remember, Nick Pivetta, Zach Eflin, very young, playing their first full year. And just the final note I want to say about this Gabe Kapler thing, he's shown he's willing to improve. He's willing to listen to the fans. I really love how he is. He knows we're frustrated. He's frustrated too. He wants the best for this team. And I feel most of this stuff, it's too early to tell if he's a good manager or not. Now, people like Alex Cora, that's a good manager. But you got to remember, he was put in a very good organization with a bunch of great players who really underachieved in 2017. It was really surprised how easily they got eliminated in the playoffs, the Red Sox, in 2017. Of course, they won it all this year. It just shows the talent they have. And I know Gabe Kapler's not really all positive. He's shown anger. He showed a little bit of actual real human, humanized emotions towards the end of the season, which I think really is good for the progression of the team and his the fans' viewpoint on him as a whole. But in my opinion, too early to tell on Gabe Kapler. Now, if we go ham in this offseason and get the key players we need, and then Kapler still has trouble, then yes, maybe you should think about someone else. Is he the right person? But in my opinion, I do think he's going to be the right manager for this team. And I do think he's going to lead us to another World Series championship in the coming years. Now, I'm unsure of how long this has been going on. 18 minutes, alright. That's about it. That's about all I have for this installment of the Phillies United Podcast. Of course, if you're listening to this on YouTube, remember, I own the Phillies United Instagram account. I actually updated my Instagram account name, changed it from Phils to Phillies, because that's how I refer to it anyway. So it's now Phillies United Instagram account. Follow there for updates about the Bryce Harper sweepstakes, Manny Machado sweepstakes, what we do in the off season, the key rumors. I'm not gonna be reporting the low rumors, like the rumors that don't make any sense in my opinion. But I'm gonna be reporting the big ones. I think I forgot to report the Bob Nightingale one, but I think that's because I've been so focused on this podcast, wanting to include it in here. But I'm going to try to ensure that I include things I note in this podcast and on the Instagram account for people who are unable to listen to the podcast on YouTube for whatever reason. Again, before I end, I am still looking forward to the future of this podcast. I want to try to get a co-host each episode. Maybe be the same person each episode, but it all depends on availability and scheduling wise. If you want to co-host on this podcast, feel free, but again, you got to know stuff about the Phillies, because I want to actually be able to discuss aspects of the team and expectations, predictions, opinions, all that good stuff. for the team with someone who actually knows. So, again, if you want or are interested in it, feel free to send me an Instagram DM at the Phillies United. Not my personal account, please, for people who know me in real life. Phillies United, primarily. Now, again, one more thing. I'm going to be open to a Q&A. So if you have any questions, like real questions, I'll answer them on the podcast. I'll give you a shout out. So I think that can work for both ends of the party. Now, we're reaching the 20-minute mark here. Thank you all for listening to the second Phillies United podcast. I'm going to try to get these out at least weekly, but it all depends on rumors are slow. Like at this moment, we haven't got a big rumor in the past few days. So that's about it. Thank you all for listening to the Phillies United podcast. And please stay tuned for updates on the Instagram account for anything coming in. And I'll update you on potential formal scheduling for the podcast. But it's all going to come down to how the news comes out. So once again, thank you all for listening. I really appreciate the support. And I hope you all have a great day/night. Peace.